Hi everybody, today we are going to take a tour through my breeding farms. I'm going to show you all of the different farms that I have and explain why I have them set up the way that I do. I'm hoping this will be helpful for anybody who would like to try reorganizing their breeding farms. Maybe you just got the Pegasus or VIP account and don't know how to make the most of your farm organization, although really most of it just comes down to preference and what you want your farm to look like, what will help you find the different horses in your farm. I think for me, the two factors I take into consideration when organizing my farms is, does my organizational method help me find horses easily without having to constantly use the search filters? If I can at least say, okay, I know that my Nakota cross is in my past farm somewhere, then I know I can then use the filters to search for that horse in some way if I know the horse's name and just search in that farm. I don't have to constantly go through every single farm to search for that horse. That would just take too much time. And the other factor I take into consideration is, does my organizational method help me work my horses efficiently? If I have, say, this training trophies farm, it's just for mass training horses, and I have the farm set up so that as soon as I switch farms, I know, hey, I'm in the mountain rides farm. My muscle memory knows to go to mountain rides, and I'm not still stuck in forest rides, and I'm accidentally doing forest rides on horses who have already completed forest rides. So let's get started with my horses without a breeding farm, also known as the other horses tab. This farm primarily holds my miscellaneous bluffs that are in progress and usually a few horses that I'm not sure if I want to sell them or keep them. Right now I have about half a dozen horses that I'm skilling up. Most of them are to enter into my EC competitions to help boost my EC prestige. And then once I'm finished with them, I'll go throw them into whatever farm that is appropriate for them. So getting into my actual breeding farms, at the top far left, we've got my breeding projects, and this farm holds all of my crossbreeding projects, starting with All Breed 2016 and 2018. I did do a couple of videos on my all breed projects. This is where I wanted to breed a horse that had all of the riding horse and pony breeds in its family tree. So I did that with my 2016 project, all of the horse and pony breeds that were on the game up until 2016. This farm holds all of the horses that I used for that project. And then we ended up getting 3 more breeds. So then I had to breed a new all breed horse. I decided to start from scratch, which meant I ended up with a whole new herd of horses from my 2018 all breed project. And these are all of these. So the next farm is my Crayola mix Bluffed farm. And this holds all of my primary crossbreeding projects. So any skillers that I've done or any crossbreds whom I wanted to rank on a particular breed ranking go in here. I do still have a couple of skillers down here, Green Sheen and Lilac Luster, that can still see lower level show jumping rosettes. So I know that these horses are in here, which is nice. On any day that I get that win 1 rosette objective, I can go into this farm, get these 2 horses real quick and enter them into some rosette competitions and hope that they win. And that way then I know, hey, these horses are in here. I don't have to go searching through my farms to find any rosette level horses. The next farm is my Crayola Mix Training tab. These are most likely siblings, twins specifically, of the projects that I actually bluffed and used, because I don't typically bluff or skill both of the foals. So because these were probably bred with tiers, they have high IBS, so I'm going to eventually train them up, keep them to help boost my general ranking. And then for some reason, I have a storage tab. I don't know if the idea behind this was in case I want to train them, or maybe I wasn't sure if I wanted to sell them or not. I think I'm just going to consolidate it with my training farm. My cross switch farm was a particular crossbreeding project where I wanted to take a purebred and then crossbreed that horse so that that purebred's bottom 3 skills actually became its top 3 skills. So I did that with Twimbrel. He's a halflinger dominant crossbred. His top 3 skills are actually a purebred halflinger's bottom 3 skills, so I just reversed them. And then I did the same with Midnight Pearl. He was an easier cross because he's just a Tennessee Walker Newfoundland cross, and these are all the horses that I used for those two different projects. Next one is cross testing. This just holds any testing experiments. Most often, if I'm going to use tiers on a crossbred, I breed a tester foal first if I want that crossbred foal to be a particular breed, such as in a lot of my projects, I like doing Gypsy Banner dominant crossbreds with speed as the top skill. So I'll breed a crossbreed foal just to make sure there's no glitches happening, or if the percentages are kind of iffy and I'm just not sure what the foal is, just breed a tester foal that way. That way I know and I don't waste the Aphrodite's tears. The last farm is my Frasers of Lovett farm. This was a particular project where I wanted to breed a horse with at least 1,000 GP in each genetic skill. And then I took that a step further. I did a few extra branches of that project, and I ended up with quite a lot of horses in this farm. So the next one is my GAs and stuff. This is my coat gallery. Any horse that has a retired coat, golden apple coat, or special item coat that does not fit in a particular project farm goes in my coat gallery, because you'll notice that pretty much all of the horses, almost all of them in all of these crossbreeding farms, do have coats on them because I'm trying to coat all of them. So these are just sit here, look pretty, and collect dust. They're inactive for the most part unless I decide to use them as a filler. The first one we have are my Creation Space retired coats with less than 100 copies. If a coat does start out with, say, 200 copies and eventually a bunch of those copies get deleted and it winds up under 100 copies, then I do end up moving that into this farm. The next farm is my Golden Apple farm. These are Creation Space Unlimited Golden Apple coats, which means these coats will never retire. Fun fact about this farm is that Razmik Berry is a mare who is always ready to breed. I don't age her. She's just always ready to cover. It's really nice having a mare right here that I know I can do that with, because there is no search filter to search for a mare who is ready to be covered. If I have a project that I want to do and I want to compare public stallion GP to whatever's in the sales, I can just go to this farm, grab Razmik Berry, and I know I can immediately search, cover my mare or find a stallion or whatever. That way I don't have to go searching for one. The next farm is my pre-Creation Space Golden Apple coats. Pre-CS coats do have a chance to retire either when the creator's account is deleted, or the creator can choose to retire their coat once it reaches 100 uses. So what I'll do with these every once in a while, I'll just click the retired apple icon, search to see if these are retired. But unfortunately, I have a bunch of other project farms with pre-CS coats in them, so it's kind of a pain to search, but these don't really have their own project tab to sit in. The next one is my pre-Creation Space retired coats, less than 100 copies. All these are pre-CS coats. They're retired, have less than 100 copies. The next one are retired pre-CS coats with more than 100 copies. That one's pretty much self-explanatory. This next farm are horses that have unused Helios Rays on them because they have a harmony pack placed, and then I just couldn't find a background for them at the time. I put them in this farm because there's no search filter to search for an unused ray, so it's a good idea just to keep them separated so you know where they're at. Next farm is retired coats with ray. So any Helios Ray retired coated horse that has more than 100 copies gets put into this farm here. And then the very last farm in my coat gallery are my special item coats. So any miscellaneous coats such as the vintage apple, fifth element, Halloween item, what have you, that goes into this farm. Then we're moving into my Pass and Immortal AP farm. This used to hold my Pass horses. Now it's just some leftovers. And the first farm holds all of my Immortal AP farmers. This farm was set up to be an aging point farm. They're all Immortal and they all have Hypnose blankets. Having them in a separate farm like this is so much easier because I do have the Rain Autobed perk, so I can just hit groom and boom. Groom, move to the next horse. It just makes it so much faster when you're taking care of your horses to have horses that if you're doing the same action with a particular group of horses, keep them in a separate farm because your muscle memory will just get stuck into doing this. And then if you think, oh, well, the next horse I have to do lessons with, you really have to pay attention that you're switching over to doing lessons with that. So the next farm is my leftovers tab. This used to hold some of my leftover Pass horses, which I've pretty much gotten rid of. Now it just holds all of my unicorn fails. And this farm serves two purposes for me. One of them is that it does act as a sort of bank if I ever need some extra equus right away. I know I have all of these horses that I don't mind getting rid of that I can sell at a moment's notice. Their second purpose is that they're good fodder horses for the donate to OW objective or sell a horse to the safe haven objective. So there's your use for unicorn fails right there. Then we have my donkeys and draught horses. The donkeys are for the cover a donkey objective. That was sort of what the draught horses were for, but I don't really need these because I have my own draft project, so I'm gonna eventually get rid of these when I get some time. The next farm is my training trophies farm. This is the farm that holds all of my trophy coat horses that I do plan on building all of their skills eventually. The holding pen is just to take out any adults that were in my trophies. There are a few foals in here, but I just took out some of the adults just so that they were easy to put into training. So the way that I have this set up is that I have it set up in order of how I prefer to skill my horses. I'm just focusing on building the skills. I don't care about lessons. I do full games just to help with extra skills, but I don't bother with lessons and I don't focus on getting wins. So I have full games first. Once they're done with that, they go into the forest training farm. Once they're done with forest rides, into mountain, then to training, then to competitions. And I have the Z in front of competitions because your breeding farms are organized alphabetically, and I didn't want to do competitions first. So I put the Z in front of it just so it would be towards the end. Then I have a training pen holding farm because before I had Bucephalus, if I had, say, a dozen horses in my training farm get booted out of boarding, I didn't feel like boarding them all that day, so I took them out of this farm so they wouldn't interrupt my workflow as I'm mass training, and then I would put them in the holding pen. Once I was ready to board them, I knew, hey, all of these horses will actually go back into training, and I knew which tab to put them back in. And then we just have some other miscellaneous blups that I need to figure out which breeding farm I want to put them in. Then the next farm is my trophies farm. This is pretty self-explanatory. I just have this set up according to the letter of their breed. So the first letter of their breed, of all the A breeds, the B breeds. And then for some breeds, like the D through G breeds, I just didn't have enough horses or breeds for those to like actually make me want to create a farm just for, say, a dozen gypsy vanners. So I just put them all into one farm, and I did that for a few of them. But I do have my draughts and donkeys in a separate farm, foundations in another farm, pony breeds are in their own farm, and I do have unicorns in a farm and companions as well, because for some reason we still don't yet have a companion search filter for our breeding farms. Would be nice to have though. Next one is for sale farm. Again, self-explanatory. Any horse that is currently listed for sale or that I definitely plan on selling goes into here. Next farm is Trotters and Boggs. These hold my purebred French Trotter and purebred Kerry Bog breeding lines that I put limited edition coats on. I have a Bluffing or in progress farm for each breed, as well as their own farm for when I go once their skills are bolded and they get a coat on them. So I do actually bold their skills. If you'll notice for the French Trotter farm, one has Blup in its name. That's because I'm working to get it to 60 Blup. And then once it's Blupped, I can finally breed it. And then I'll put a B in its name, so I know that I still need to finish on bolding that horse's skills. So like with all of these horses, I only have this one Blup that's active. None of these have a B in their name, so they're just completely done. They're just waiting for a coat before I can actually move them into the boggy shed. Next farm is Flutter Points and Arabians. These hold all of my Arabians that I put coats on. The first one is my Australian pony Bluffing farm, pretty much same thing as the Trotters and Boggs. Then I have my Australian pony breeding farm. These ones are breeders. I don't actually really plan on breeding any of these Bluffing ones. I'm just going to bold their skills because all of these Australian ponies are immortal. I have one stallion for all these mares. That's all I need because I don't care about increasing GP. It's just to get coats on these. Next farm are Immortal Arabian unicorns. I keep this farm set aside because these mares are always in foal in case I get that breed or produce a unicorn foal objective. If you hit a streak of bad luck, it's really handy to have like half a dozen mares that are just ready to pop out a foal at a moment's notice, and then hopefully at least one of those will have a unicorn foal. So then I have my unicorn knabstrupper bluffing farm, and then I do have my knabstrupper breeding farm. I've only got one Immortal mare in here, so I do actually work on getting these bluffed, and then I'll move them into the breeding farm once they're bluffed. Next farm is my divine place. This holds all of my divines. I did recently create a new tab for my Chinese divines because I acquired a second Tiama divine, and he wasn't placed in line with my other Chinese divines. Some of the other divines that I have were in between them, and I wanted to make sure that I was working them all at a time. I didn't want to have to open up that second Tiama in a new tab, so the Chinese divine get their own tab. These are all of my daily divines. That holds the divines that I do have to work daily to benefit from their perk, and then this tab just holds all of the divines that I don't have to work daily, but I do have them boarded so I can do lessons with them when I want to. The resting divines holds my gray fells because you can just let your gray fell sit and they'll still lose health. And then my baby Capricorn, I don't work him because I like the baby form and I don't want him to age up. And then I do not work my wilds once they hit 80, and that one I did because he's 147 years old, but I no longer do that with them. I just retire them because with the wilds, you cannot move their action blocks up to the top of the page, and that really annoys me if you're trying to work your horses, because then you actually have to scroll down to work them. So I just never actually bother working these. They're just retired. Next farm is my Catateros farm, which holds my purebred drum line and my draft unicorn line. And this pretty much functions the exact same as my Trotters and Boggs. So I do actually have the draft unicorns kind of mingling with the regular draft horses in here. Once the drum horses have had their skills bolded and I've bred them and they get a coat, they get placed into the finish tab. Whereas with the draft unicorns, it's the same process, except they don't have a separate tab just to themselves. They're just going to get placed in whatever appropriate coat gallery tab. The Catateros, the theme name for this, was named after the Dark Hunter series by Sherilyn Kenyon, and I did actually give them their own names when I first started this, but unfortunately I just stopped doing that because like the character limit was a problem, and I really like keeping the GP in the name just for organizational purposes. I think that's pretty nifty. One other thing I want to point out or bring up is that when it comes to the coat gallery, you'll have noticed that I do not really split mine up into copies aside from less than 100 copies and more than 100 copies. There are some players that do that. They'll put all of their 100 copy coats in one farm, 200 in another, 300, 400, what have you. They'll split them up. The reason why I don't do this is because I have my coats split across so many different project farms that I just wouldn't have enough if I put all of my 200 copies in one farm. I might only have 20 in that farm and 5 or 10 in another farm, and I just think it looks prettier just to see them all in a line like this. So far I just haven't felt the need to split them up. Maybe I'll do that one day when I get more horses. So I hope that was kind of helpful in explaining sort of how you can organize your horses. It's really just personal preference. How do you work your horses? Do you prefer to have all of your bluffs in one tab and then just all of your mass training horses in another? Do you want all of your broodmares in one tab, all of the horses that you know are actively breeding in another tab? You know, it's just kind of up to you, but this is how I do it, and it's how I've had them set up for the last few years, and it's worked pretty well for me. So thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.